We going 10 for 10, 10 for 10, 10 for 10, for 10. We going 10 for 10, 10 for 10, 10 for 10, 10 for 10. We going 10 for 10. Who's that? It's Sim. I'm back again. Stay on track. Follow the trend. I'm locked in, ain't taking no breaks, but you can't relate. It is what it is. I'm in the game. I bet I'm gonna win. Running right back. I'ma do it again. If I see you out, I might say what's up. Won't say you did good, cause I don't pretend. I'm one of the best. So give me respect. It is what it is. It is what it is. Cause we're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 10 for 10. We're going 10 for 10 for 10 for 10. We're going 10.
Hello, my name is Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
I mean, just to walk in here and see all these fans supporting us is unreal.
That's all you try to do is go out there and focus and do your job and just keep making one pitch at a time.
We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. They gotta sit back and watch, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the, we on our way to the, yeah. We on our way to the top.
Look, make sure you mention my name with the greats. Whole lot of talk, but it ain't no debate. We light it up like we causing an accident, but it ain't no mistake. Seat at the table, I carry the weight. They want the beef, so we hide the steaks. Bust in the kitchen and fire the chef.
We on our way to the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. We on our way to the.
You got 8 seconds to prove you're worth the price of admission. And you got Baylor Scott and White Health along for the ride. So square up. You got this.
MCC has definitely benefited me most on not only what I want to do, but who I aspire to be. Expect every professor to help you become who you want to be and more. Create your own success at MCC.
We can't be the guys that gonna be timid and not knowing what's going on. You play hard, you play together. I mean, that's all we ask.
This is what we all have to do.
Be locked in, focus, just be disciplined, all right?
Now I feel like Kyrie, I'ma have to take the shot. If they tryna call me dog, I gotta hit the block. Started from the bottom, but we made it to the top. And I told them time is money, that's why I don't ever stop. I got my black hoodie with a rollie on, eating pasta like Corleone. I don't got time for no fake boy. If you got the money, gon' show me some. I got 2 whips and I'm self-paid. Never got help, bro, I'm self-made. Started from the bottom, but we made it to the top. And I told them time is money, that's why I don't ever stop. Hey, what up, say? Home up in the studio, so I'm locked in. My stock going way up, I got options. Yeah, they fine, but stop playing, you not him. Wait, the numbers going up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to bring you through the primetime topics in sports, not just here locally, but from all around the nation. Hey, we want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here on this Tuesday afternoon. We've got plenty to talk about. March Madness, once again, in full effect. Had a really great first couple of rounds of this tournament. Some exciting games. Got some upsets in both rounds. Thought the second round was going to be pretty cookie cutter until Florida decides to go out there and lose to Iowa and a bunch of guys that look like they were probably from Croatia and somewhere else. I was like, man, where did some of these guys on Iowa come from? But Florida goes down, the national champ loses, which means we will have a new national champion this year. So that makes the Sweet 16 even more fun to watch. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the first round and the Sweet 16 matchups getting ready to come up, who we think is going to make it to the Elite Eight. We'll talk about some local sports here a little bit. Baylor loses to Duke in the national tournament. We'll talk about what that means for their program as well. We'll talk about the women's tournament. They've got through the first couple of rounds. Star Power winning in the women's tournament. Madison Booker dropped 40 in their win headed to the Sweet 16, man. It's going to be a really, really fun Sweet 16 on the women's side of the bracket as well. Of course, we'll do some quick takes. We'll talk a little bit about some NBA, talk about the games coming on tonight. We'll talk about some hot topics going on in the NFL, and we'll talk about this flag football game that happened over the weekend that I didn't even know was coming on until I tried to find one of the March Madness games and see that Tom Brady and NFL players are playing flag football on TV. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well today. So stay tuned and get locked in, folks, here on Centex Primetime. We've got a lot to talk about. Joining me here at the table, just like he is every Tuesday, we got the HBCU insider, the most famous man in Waco, Mr. Rocky Miller, in the building with us. Rock, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Hey, I love to be here every Tuesday, man, talking sports. If for those of you who don't recognize me, I'm not wearing a costume or anything like that. I had just happened to shave my beard off, man. Every probably twice a year I go. I go clean shaven, and it reminds me why I wear a beard. You know what I mean? And so that's just hey, I got a beard face. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just
hey, look,
that's just why I have to accept it. And you know how some guys can go clean shaven, some guys can go bald face, as we say.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of them. I need a little covering.
A little something there.
Yeah, I got all these jaws and chin. I need something to give me a little covering. But hey, man. But until Thursday when I started getting this hair, like I said, I shaved it off. I want to say Monday, Sunday, I can't remember. But hey, I'll be all right, man.
No, you'll be cool, bro.
Hey.
Like some of these guys out here, they go clean shaven and start looking a little crazy, a little serial killer-ish. So I'm like, man, I don't know what. I'd be scared to even try to trim mine.
Fresh outlook.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, bro, what's going on with you? You all right? What's going on? But no, yours is cool, man. Yours is cool. I'd be scared to shave mine off. I'm gonna leave it for right now until maybe wait till I get a little bit older, see if some salt and pepper start showing up, and I said, okay, maybe it's time to go ahead.
The one drawback, and you'll understand, is having a healthy beard yourself, man. You don't realize how much food your beard helps from getting filth on your shirt, man. And so
it's like relearning how to eat or something.
Yeah. With your beard, you ain't got to worry about it.
No.
You got things that can catch food. You just got to make sure you get your food out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you can't miss with this, man.
No.
You gotta be precise.
Going straight down to the shirt.
Yeah.
If y'all watching with us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. Let everybody know got some Centex Primetime going on right here. Got a lot to jump into. So let's get into it, folks. The first two rounds of the NCAA tournament are in the books. So far, my bracket is in good shape. I know some people say, oh, man, Florida lost. It's going to blow up everybody's bracket. But if everybody picked Florida, then it's not really going to blow up everybody's bracket. It's kind of, as Rocky was saying off camera earlier, it's kind of a wash. If a team like Florida loses, I hate whenever it's either the team you pick. If you pick Florida, yeah, you out of there. I'm sorry. Go ahead and throw your bracket in the garbage can. But if it's one of those teams that you pick to kind of go far, and then all of a sudden they just get cut off in the middle of the tournament, a team that you had picked to get some upset wins, for say on my side of it, a BYU. I picked BYU to kind of go on a run. I always try to find a player in the tournament that I can kind of follow and see if they can go on a run. Thought it was going to be A.J. DeBonsta in this tournament, and he performed. He had 35 points out of their 71 points that they scored against Texas, but the rest of his teammates weren't able to step up. So me picking them to go into the Sweet 16 will kind of lost some points in there, but all in all, seemed to be doing in decent shape. Rock, what were some of those surprising games when you look at the first couple of rounds? Obviously, High Point was a big upset that everyone was talking about. But when you go through it, there were some upsets, but really, I feel like a lot of the picks went like how some people thought. Maybe you might have lost out on an 8 or 9 pick, something like that, but those games are usually toss-ups. I was mad that I kind of went back and forth, and I thought Texas Tech was going to look the way they did against Alabama, against Akron, and thought I could sneak an upset in there without their best player being there, but Akron gets them back. So it's just a couple of games like that kind of came back. What are some of those games you think about in the first couple of rounds?
So one of the games one of the things that I know that I did in this, here's the reality about reality about college football now. It is not the regular season of college football isn't reported about or talked about as much as it used to be. The sports landscape has kind of changed over the past, I would say, 20 years to where the NBA has probably taken over the conversation around basketball, with all of the games being accessible. Guys we're not just box score checking the way we used to on the NBA. We actually have an option to watch the game during the week, and because even, going back some years back, guys there would be one game you could watch look forward to Wednesday, I believe. They had a game, and then you wouldn't be able to watch another game till, probably Saturday and Sunday. Well, now you got NBA games on all week long. It kind of muddies the water for the college game. College game doesn't have any stars because of the one-and-done phenomenon. And so we don't know as much about the players, the teams that we used to, unless you are a serious college basketball fan. So I depended on, just really catching up just before the conference tournaments to kind of understand what the leagues were, look at the standings, whatever. And there was several teams that I kind of underestimated how good they were. One of the teams was Nebraska. Completely underestimated how they were, how good they were. I
didn't catch on to them until, like you said, around tournament time, and started watching and looking at other people's opinions on them, looking at some of the analytics, and I agree.
Even in a situation where I did pick VCU, I knew a name brand like North Carolina, you kind of knew they were struggling because they had one of their most important players injured. Questions whether he would come back or not. Ended up not coming back. But in fact, you knew about those, but it was a team like Nebraska that I wasn't as sure about. And I kind of overvalued a team like Texas Tech because I thought they would be able to get a little farther along in the tournament. And I'm telling you, one guy that I've completely missed during the regular season, and I usually get the stars in college basketball. I remember a few years ago, it was Brandon Miller. I kind of knew how he was. I kind of understand who the top guy, A.J. DeBonta. I knew who he was, whatever. But I have really missed Darius Acuff. I didn't know he was what he was, and I got a chance to watch him not only against Hofstra but also against Texas Tech, and he's like that. And guess what? He's the kind of player that can give Michigan the business coming up. So I'm looking forward to watching him. Unfortunately, he's probably going to be out of one and done. But if a kid like that had another year in school, with a really great tournament run like he's having, man, he would be a star in college. Let me give you another team because there was another team, a team that I didn't realize was as good either, was Tennessee. I actually picked Ohio State, Miami of Ohio to upset them. And Tennessee pulled it out.
So did I. That's one that I picked as well.
And they were able to beat what I thought was a very good Virginia team.
Yeah, I picked Virginia to take out Miami of Ohio, but if you watch that Miami of Ohio and Tennessee game in the first maybe 5 to 10 minutes, they're hitting threes, they're moving fast, and I'm like, see, I knew I had my Nostradamus brain on, knew Miami was going. After that, they didn't score a bucket for about another 10 to 15 minutes. Tennessee completely dominated them. And then after seeing them beat Virginia, I'm like you. I was like, okay, I probably undervalued how good Rick Barnes and this Tennessee team was, and kind of thought, man, this is a wash year for Tennessee. But showing why they're in the Sweet 16, in the Elite Eight pretty much every single year because of the type of pedigree they have. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Tennessee definitely one of those teams that the Nebraska one for sure, I had picked them to get as far as they did. I picked them to beat Vanderbilt, but then I picked them to lose in this next round to Florida coming up. And obviously now I have Nebraska as a favorite moving forward. But, man, those guys can play. They're solid defensively mainly. And, one of the biggest surprises, this Iowa team. I picked them to beat Clemson because I just didn't know anything about Clemson. But to see them kind of handle Florida with the same game that Florida beats everybody else with the out-rebound, physical play. They got 3 7-footers out there playing and sometimes at once. So to see Iowa kind of beat them at their own game was kind of cool to see. Michigan State, I kind of figured these guys would be here. The St. John, Kansas one was a game that I went back and forth on for a while, but I figured St. John's could get past them, man. Rick Pitino just shows he's a good coach. He can get these guys in position to win each and every time, and we'll talk about their matchup with Duke later. But obviously, like you said, Darius Acuff proven to be a star, man. To see how this dude is showing up through the SEC tournament, really the last 10 games of the SEC regular season, then through the tournament, and then all the way till now, to see what he can do. That matchup with them in Arizona is going to be good. Texas was kind of one of those teams, like we said, we thought was going to lose. To see them get all the way to the Sweet 16 now, do you think they're a team that can kind of keep it pushing, or do you think their momentum is kind of going to run out of air here coming up with their matchup versus Purdue?
Here's the question. See, Texas is talented.
Yeah.
Like, they've underachieved this year, but if you go back and kind of evaluate what they added to their team from an NIL standpoint, they have a well-compensated team. And I think in this era, that's kind of a way to kind of determine what the talent level is. There's a phenomenon that people have talked about in this tournament that I think is, well, there's a couple things. One, people have talked about everybody in the Sweet 16s come from a power conference, right? There's no Cinderellas, right? That's something we experienced last year. And I think the NIL era kind of introduces that. If you have a guy that makes a run, if you identify a guy in the tournament from a mid-major, or if he has a good season at a mid-major, he's going to get an opportunity to play at a Power 5 conference. So you're not going to have a group of kids at a mid-major that plays 4 years together and that really comes up and they're the best team at the mid-major. You're not really going to have that anymore. But the other deal is people have made the assertion that the Euros are taking over college basketball. Now, I think that's wildly exaggerated.
It is.
Because we had this is one season, but I think they've had a good showing in this tournament. But guess what? With 16 teams, if you say in football, if you say a team is the 16th best team in the country, that isn't any mandate on taking over the sport, do you think?
No.
So I look at it as being wildly exaggerated. The teams they're talking about with the Euros, they're talking about Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois.
Yep.
And there's one more I may be missing. Purdue, I think, is the other one.
Purdue got a couple
Euros. What you're talking about, those teams play a particular kind of way, and they've always played a particular kind of way. And they've won with a certain kind of player.
Yep.
You know what kind of players Iowa wins with. You know what kind of players Purdue win with.
Yep.
You know what kind of players. We can even put schools like Wisconsin and other schools like that in that same category. And they win with a certain player that are willing to play that system. But usually, even as I'm naming those schools, and Michigan is the other school that.
Yeah, Michigan.
And they've done probably the best of any school. What ends up happening, even in the tournament a lot of times, to schools like Purdue, Wisconsin, whatever, they make early exits because talent went over the course of a tournament. Talent is going to win out. You have to be deep. You have to be competitive. You have to be ready for the moment. All these things that make a great college basketball. And then guess what? There are no easy nights. And as you go in the tournament, you're going to have guys that are just as tall, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little explosive. You understand what I'm saying? And maybe create a mismatch. And so my point of saying this is that let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No.
The Euros are going to come over here and like they have, and they're going to play at the college level, but it's going to be, if a guy is as good as Jokic, he's going to go to the NBA.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be getting paid so much as a young player in Europe, He's not coming over here.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, that's way more.
My question to you, since we're talking about these Euros in college, how many of these Euros are actually lottery picks in the upcoming draft? Probably none of them. Is there any of them going to out A-Cup, DeBonsa?
They got no shot in this draft.
Yeah, and
No
someone
shot.
said something the other day that made sense to me is that one of the reasons why Cooper Flagg reclassed is because if he was in this draft, no matter how big of a star they say he is now as a rookie in Dallas, if he is part of this draft, he's drafted no higher than 4, maybe 3.
Yeah,
but
three is
DeBonsa, Peterson.
He's not getting drafted
A-Cuff.
over Peterson or DeBonsa for sure.
Yeah,
A-Cuff was when you would start a toss up and see which direction you want to go, but he wouldn't get drafted over AJ. He knew that because he'd been in the same high school class as these dudes since they was kids. So he know that. That's why he reclassified and went to Duke. And he wouldn't be 20-10 at Duke because they got a guy averaging 25-11 at Duke right now, and Cam Boozer. So
let's not get ahead of ourselves. The best talent in basketball comes from the United States.
Absolutely.
Again, the white player in the NBA has been Euro for the last 20 years. And I hope that, I have nothing against. I hope we do develop more white players that are American born that can play in the NBA, because at the end of the day, it's our league.
Yeah.
And we would want our guys to be able to play in the league. But the demise of the black athlete in basketball is wildly exaggerated this year. I think these are hopeful conversations. Yeah. And one of the things that is kind of puzzling to me, and I know it may seem like I'm all over the place, but in a NIL era, when you can compensate kids, why would a college go start compensating Euro players when you could compensate any kid? Why wouldn't you compensate domestic players, understanding what the domestic talent has been to the game? Why wouldn't your option be to go to go develop Euro players, which ultimately helps those Euro teams that will ultimately be competing against the NBA?
Yeah,
I mean, competing against the USA in international competitions. They have a system that works for them. I would suggest that I would hope that our colleges and universities, nothing against the Euro players, but unless the Euro players head and shoulders above our domestic players, why even bring them over? And a lot of these guys who they are saying making contributions, other than the Michigan and the Iowa team, the stars are on those other teams are still American-born players.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always going to be like that. And I get the reason why they bring them over here. One, because they're older. Most of the time, we already know these dudes be coming over. We've seen the stories. We've seen the Ersan Ilyasovas who come over and get drafted, say he's 23 and he's already like 31. Like, not saying that that's all these guys, but even if they do come over at their regular age, not only are they 21 or 22 years old, but they've been a professional basketball player for 6 years.
Yes.
So I can bring this mannish experience to play against a bunch of children.
You bring up a really good point.
That's, I think, by the main reason why we see.
You bring a really good point. There was outrage about the U.S. players that had played in the G League and other professional leagues that could come back and play college ball, but there's been no fuss about these Euro kids who were in professional systems, whether or not they were playing at the top leagues or not, but they were in these professional systems. However, they were given the opportunity to play college basketball. You can't have it both ways. Either you can allow kids to play in college who had pro experience, or you don't. And we know all the Euro guys have had professional experience.
Yeah, it's like
before coming over.
It's like the minor league system. It's the same. Their basketball system is the same as their soccer system. You bring kids in young, you put them into your system, you put them through the camps, you put them through all of your stuff. They have leagues for them, but these guys are professionals at 14, 15 years old. Ricky Rubio was 14 playing professional bat. He was 16 playing on the Spain national team. Like, these guys start so much younger. We know Luka had got signed by Real Madrid at 15 years old. Like, these guys have been professionals. So now you can't get to Luka and convince him to come to college because he'll just come to the NBA if he's going to come to America. But you can convince all Luka's teammates that have also been professionals, and now they're 22 years old, still haven't played in the NBA. But you can bring them over here and play in the college game, knowing
against our 18-year-old kids.
Against our 18-year-old kids, knowing their knowledge is going to be way bigger of basketball and their experience than what these other guys have. So I'm like you, it's widely exaggerated out, but I've seen that too. People saying, man, the Euro's starting to take over college basketball too. No, they're just paying people. So some teams that can't go get a DeBonsta and that can't go get a Darius Acup, they got to go get Shlo Gugovic because he's 22 years old and he's been playing pro and he can help my team win, a la Iowa. No one expected Iowa to do anything in this tournament, including myself. But you have a guy in position with experience that I'm sure is at least 22, 23 years old. He's ready for the moment, hits the shot. Here comes Iowa in the tournament. Let's look at these Sweet 16 matchups here as we go down the bracket. Going to start with what I think is going to be one of the most interesting games and maybe the most fun game to watch this weekend, Duke versus St. John's. I picked St. John's to win over Kansas to get here, and I picked them to lose against Duke. And now I'm like, okay. After seeing St. John's the last couple of weeks, they got momentum going their way. What is it going to look like against this Duke team? I still like Duke at this point. They're a 6.5-point favorite. Don't know if I would take them on the 6.5 points as of right now because these games usually come down and are so close. But I still like Duke in this game. This is going to be a matchup of two good bigs. They got Ejiofor over there at St. John's, who's been doing a phenomenal job the last couple of games. And then Cam Boozer, who's kind of the do-it-all guy for Duke, who I thought coming in was going to be more of a post-player / live threat. But as the season has progressed, he's everything for Duke. He's the engine for their entire offense, him along with his brother at the guard spot down there as well. Who do you like in this Duke-St. John's matchup that we're going to get?
Before the tournament, I liked Duke. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. But after I've watched St. John's play a couple games, I think they pose a serious threat. Serious threat to Duke. And if they can't stay in front of the little guard from St. John's, that's where I think they kind of have an advantage. I don't think that guy can truly guard anybody on Duke's team. The guy that made the last second shot, I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Bells.
Bells is what they call him. But anyway, talent for talent, I still think Duke has the better talent, but I think style of play really benefits St. John's.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against this St. John's team. Like I said, the way they've played over the last couple of weeks, seeing them go out, compete against a top-tier program like a Kansas, and seeing the way that they did play in that game and the game before that, I'm like, okay, Duke's kind of been moving slow a little bit in the tournament. You can't come out slow against the St. John's team like Kansas did, because Kansas would have probably won this game had they not came out and had such a slow start. St. John's was kind of on them early, had a 10-point lead going into the locker room, and that's what kind of propelled them over. If Duke comes out with a slow start, I think they can end up to the same fate as a Kansas team.
Let me ask you this, because this is kind of – they consider UConn and St. John's part of but I guess you could say I guess the Big East in basketball.
Yeah, it's the Big East.
Do you still consider that conference a power conference?
Not at all.
Now, they're saying it's a power conference. I think they're largely using history to kind of determine that they're a power conference. I haven't been able to find any real stats on what St. John's NIL budget was. But I'm sure it's not. It wasn't among of the 16 teams left. I'm sure it's one of the lowest budgets.
It's probably one of the lower budgets. But I'm pretty. Yeah, it's probably amongst the lowest budgets. At least out of probably it might be 10 out of 16, something like that. Like it's somewhere in the middle or towards the lower part of it because I know they don't have more than the obvious, the Kansases, the Dukes, the teams like that. But I do imagine they got a pretty decent one just because it's Rick Pitino, and he's been getting in trouble for years about his NIL packages. So I'm sure he got a pretty decent one that he could pass out now that it's legal over at St. John's for them. But no, they're not a power conference. Big East hasn't been a power conference for years since they dismantled the Big East and Syracuse moved on to the ACC and all. Once all those guys left, the Big East is never. They'll have a couple of teams that are good. Obviously, UConn has been pretty good over the years. Some of those times Villanova are good. Sometimes they're not good. Some of those times Creighton has had some teams with Coach McDermott out there as well. But I don't think it. I wouldn't consider the Big East a power conference at all, especially since UConn and St. John's are really the only two teams that have anything that's really that's worth watching for basketball at least going in there. But yeah, I'm like you. I think the St. John's team is one of the hottest teams. Got a chance to, possibly get to the Final Four. The way that they're playing, that's what they look like. You've got a great historically good coach in Rick Pitino. So I think these guys have a chance to actually do something pretty special. I need Duke to win for my bracket, but me just watching the game as a fan, it would be no shock to me whatsoever if St. John's is able to pull out a victory over Duke. Want to go to the other side of the bracket. One of the first games we're going to get, we'll get it on the first day, Arizona versus Arkansas. Arizona is the number one seed that has looked like a number one seed pretty much through the first couple of games of this tournament. They've been dominant. I think they seen a crazy stat like they out-rebounded Utah State 55-29 or something like that. Just a dominant performance. We know that they're a big team. We said that coming in. Them and Florida are probably the two biggest teams in the tournament. Seeing the dominance that they've had has been no surprise because it's looked like that all season long, especially if you're a Big 12 fan like myself. You've been watching that all year long. But seeing them come into this game versus Darius Acuff, who you spoke about earlier, March Madness sometimes is about players more than it is about programs. And Darius Acuff is one of those guys that can put a program over the edge. Like I said before, I thought Coach Calipari was, hanging out with some of his former players or something. Might have been a little high when he said, man, Darius Acuff might be the best guard I've coached. I'm like, okay, this dude is tripping. You just being a homer and saying that because he's here this year. But as the season has progressed, he has proven to be, in my opinion, probably the best guard, between him and Derrick Rose, the best guard that Coach Calipari has coached. Do you think Darius Acuff can have enough to take out this number one seed in Arizona team?
Yes, I think he has enough, but he has to be sensational.
Yeah,
I really wish he could have matched up against a team like Michigan, but they're gonna have their hands full with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I really would like to have seen them against even a Purdue team or something like that.
Yeah. For sure.
But again, we'll see. I think Arizona has thus far hasn't been tested, and so what they'll see in Darius Acuff is similar to what they'll see when they play Houston, and we know how that has turned out for them. I think is Acuff, even though they played in the Big 12, outside of AJ DeBonsa, I think individually Acuff will be the best player that they faced, and because he's a guard, he may be the most challenging person that he has to face. So
yeah, I agree. I think Arkansas, it'll have to be a full team effort. How can they rebound? How can they match up against the size and the depth of Arizona? I think is going to be the biggest thing. The guard play, Arizona's got good guard play, but when you see what these two freshmen have been doing, Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas have been doing for Arkansas, that's a matchup leaning towards Arkansas's way. How did the big guys play? They got in foul trouble in that last game that they had versus High Point. How do those big guys play against top-tier talent like Koa Pete and these other dudes that they have at Arizona? I'm taking Arizona in this game, but like I said in the last one, this is a game that will be no shock to me whatsoever if the underdog or the lower seed is able to come out with a victory in this game. The way that Darius Acuff has played all year, if he comes out, as you said, and it's sensational, if he's got 35, 40, yeah, I'm definitely taking Arkansas on this one. But if he comes out and gets his average and gets 25, I'll lean towards Arizona in this game. They're 7.5-point favorites. I definitely won't be taking Arizona on that 7.5. The tournament is too close at this part of the tournament for me to pick a game like that. But I will take Arizona.
I think, like I said, I think both these teams are hot. Both of them are coming off conference tournament championships. Both of them have, dominant NBA level talent. It should be a good game. I think one of it's kind of, as you mentioned, one team's strength is the other team's weakness, and it's gonna boil down to, I think, shooting from Arizona. Not Arizona, but Arkansas.
Yeah.
If Arkansas shoots well, then they're going to be a handful for Arizona. Now, again, I think this is one of those situations that we will say Arkansas only has one path to victory. An outstanding shooting game by the team and an outstanding performance by Darius Acup. That's the only path to have the victory. I think Arizona has several paths to victory. He could dominate inside. They could shoot well from the outside. There's several. I think there's no chance that Arkansas dominates in the inside. You know what I mean? The best they could hope for is to slightly get beat. They don't want to get blown out by the inside play. But if they do, and which is what I expect them to be, the more dominant team inside to be Arizona, how do they mitigate that? Do they use pace to kind of take the bigs out of the game and stuff like that? So those are the kind of things you think about. But I think ultimately Arizona has to play Arkansas has to play their very best game and in order to win. And Arizona doesn't have to play their best game. They just have to play good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Arizona's got to play well enough to win. Arkansas has to play their best game of the season, because even though you spoke about Arizona being in the Big 12 and the competition they face, Arkansas hasn't played anybody that looks like Arizona this year playing in the SEC. So this is going to be easily their toughest matchup moving forward. Right below them playing Texas and Purdue. This is a game that I thought was going to be, the story, magical game of A.J. DeBonster. I picked them to get this far and to upset Purdue because I think Purdue is the weakest 2 seed that's in this tournament. They played and kind of squeaked past a Miami team that I thought was just honestly okay. Seeing their performance with that, I think Purdue is kind of on upset alert here. They are definitely a better team than Texas, but as you said, Texas played in the SEC. They played against good competition all year long. It's a team that really started getting hot later in the season as their season started to progress. Purdue is a 7.5-point favorite. I definitely think Purdue is the favorite in this game, but I'm kind of leaning toward the upset and for the one Cinderella story, I guess you could say, which Texas can't be considered that, one of the biggest programs in the nation for any sport. But if I could take the one Cinderella game, it would be this one with the Longhorns over Purdue. What do you think about their matchup that they're going to play?
I think this is a good matchup. I think Texas won't have to change much about their game plan against Gonzaga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gonzaga was an inside team. Purdue's the inside team. I think Gonzaga didn't shoot well against Texas, which kind of cost them the game. And I think Purdue will be in the same conundrum if in fact they don't shoot well against Texas, because Texas is really athletic and can pose some really serious problems in the open floor. And so, of course, I'm gonna pick Purdue because I think Purdue has the better team, and they've played more consistent the entire team. But I think Texas's athleticism will provide some challenges for Purdue.
Yeah, definitely. And then, as you spoke about Gonzaga being an inside team and Purdue being the same way, that's why they beat Gonzaga, in my opinion, because teams haven't been able to score inside on this. I can't even say the kid's name, but the big kid out of Texas, number 8. I ain't even going to try it. But Montes is his first name. They have not been able to score on this kid. Inside, he's played great in both games. that they played so far in this tournament. So I think that's going to be an issue for Purdue. If the game's got to slow down and Purdue can't get inside, where do they get their production from playing against a team like Texas? So, like you said, if I had to pick it, or am I going to pick it, I'm going to get Purdue to go in this game because they've been more consistent. They've got more talent on the team, in my opinion, than this Texas team. But Texas is red hot right now and could probably keep riding this thing all the way to the Elite Eight. Right on the other side, in the East bracket, Michigan State versus UConn. This is probably going to be the most physical game that's left in the tournament moving forward with these two teams coming in. UConn, very sound. They take on the identity of their coach in Dan Hurley, who's very animated. They take on that same type of identity. They got the Alex Caravan kid who said he's got the most experience in college basketball, which he does. He's been there for 4 years, and in his 4 years, they've gone to 2 national championships while he's been there. He's played more basketball than anybody that's left in this tournament for sure. Playing against a Michigan State team with Tom Izzo, we know what all Tom Izzo teams look like. They've looked the same for 20-plus years. They're going to be physical. They're going to be a disciplined team moving forward. They got one of the best guards in the nation in Jeremy Fears. They've got easily the most athletic player in Cohen Carr in the nation. If any of y'all haven't watched his highlight tape, just look at his highlight tape for this year. This dude is in regular season games jumping from the free throw line, doing windmills and stuff, dunking. Like, he's a freak athlete, and he can hoop. He had 21 points in their win versus Louisville. So this Michigan State team is tough. I got Michigan State moving on over Connecticut in this game. That's how I picked it on my bracket, so I'm definitely not going to switch up from it now. But this is going to be a really, really tough matchup between these two teams. Two great coaches, two championship-level coaches, and Dan Hurley and then Tom Izzo. What do you think about this matchup, Michigan State and UConn?
This is a coin flip game.
Yeah.
In this game, I have to take Michigan State. I think they're the tougher team. I like Fears, Kohler. I just think that they will find a way to win. I think UConn has had a great run. I think the Big Ten this year has had a tremendous run. I just don't know if UConn has consistently played the level of talent that the Big 12 has. Mississippi, when Izzo is healthy, when his teams are healthy, and he's got a whole week to prepare for UConn, I just think he's tough. Nothing against Coach Hurley. I don't see them having that dominant player that kind of gets them over the hump like they usually have had. So I'm going to take Michigan State, but I wouldn't be surprised if UConn pulls it out.
Yeah, there's no Jordan Hawkins on this team when they won their first one. There's no Stephon Castle on this team when they won their second one, or Donovan Clingan when they won their second one. Those big names that we're used to seeing at UConn. They've got some good players, but the two best players in this game are both going to be on Michigan State, and Cameron Cohen and then Jeremy Fears as well, whose little brother was a lottery pick last year. That's on the Pelicans right now. That Michigan State's got more talent. I think, in my opinion, they're the better coach team as well, too. So I'm definitely going with Tom Izzo in Michigan State in this game versus UConn. As we go down to the South, this looks like a Big Ten championship matchup football game. Iowa versus Nebraska, something that I don't think anybody had picked on their brackets for this matchup to be able to happen again and in basketball this time. I got Nebraska in this one. I think Iowa has played great to this point. Yeah, they they slayed the Dragon. They beat the national champs, and they beat Florida. I think that's where their season will meet its crescendo right there and kind of end. This Nebraska team is solid, as you spoke about earlier. They were really solid against the Troy team. That's a lot of people had Troy upset Nebraska. They pulled off a win against a really good and experienced Vanderbilt team. They're fundamentally sound. They're big, and they can shoot the ball. When you got a team that's big and can pound the glass, but can also shoot the ball well from the outside, makes them dangerous. I'm taking Nebraska in this one for sure.
Like I say, I think the first matchup between these teams this year, I was able to edge the game out in a low-scoring game. That was at Iowa when they played in the tournament, which was a neutral site game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nebraska was able to win the game. And this will be the third time playing in about, probably 3 weeks. And I just think Iowa's the better team, and I think playing on a neutral site Nebraska's the better team, and I think playing on a neutral site gives Nebraska the edge. If it was at Purdue, I think there'd probably be a better outcome. But this one is, if it was at Iowa, Iowa, it'll be a different outcome. But this game is going to be at a neutral site, and I think Nebraska is head and shoulders a better team, if you ask me. Even though Iowa had a tremendous game against Florida, I don't suspect they can continue keep that up and beat a team like Nebraska, because Nebraska is really good.
Yeah, Nebraska is. I think I would. I'm looking at their point spread here at 1.5. I think that's easy. I would take them on the 1.5. I would take them even if it was a little bit bigger. I think this could end up being a double-digit game just based on where these two programs are at right now. I know they've played already, but based on where they're both at right now, I think Nebraska can really pull away towards the end of this game. Iowa, as great as they played against Florida, if they don't let a guy run full speed right past them directly and then hand it to a guy that's wide open in the corner, then we wouldn't even be talking about this Iowa team being here right now. So I'll take Nebraska in this one for sure. The other game in the south side of the bracket is going to be a really good one. Illinois versus Houston. Illinois is another one of those teams that not surprised me. Illinois has been good all year long, consistently from top to bottom in this season. But seeing them just kind of manhandle VCU like that, when I thought VCU, they got some good guards, maybe they can make this a game, and they kind of just manhandled those guys from start to finish. They won't be able to do that against this U of H team. Obviously, I picked U of H as my winner, and through the first couple of games, I get more reassurance and feel better about me picking them because they are smacking. I mean, the games haven't been close. This A&M team pulled off, in my opinion, what was an upset versus St. Mary's in pretty handily fashion, and then just got beat down by Houston. Like it wasn't a game by halftime. I'm like, man, U of H is the real deal. Their coach, he's not playing around at all. This team is tough, and then they've got the tremendous guard play to couple along with it. So I got U of H in this game.
I got U of H too. Like you, I have them in my tournament as the overall tournament winner. But I think this is going to be a tough game. I think it really is. I think both of these teams come in winning both of their tournament games very comfortably. I give Houston the edge because I think that Big 12 conference schedule prepares them for this kind of gauntlet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if night in, night out, Illinois has to face what they're facing now. I don't know where this game is being played. I wish I knew that. Let me see.
This game will be.
It's in
Houston.
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah.
I was looking and I was like, this says Houston, but maybe I'm tripping and I'm reading it wrong.
No,
it's in Houston at Toyota Center. So goodbye to Illinois and the
that means they're going to play the next. They're going to play the next two games in Houston. I'll be shocked if Houston loses this game.
Me too. Not saying they can't lose, but I'm like you. That would be shocked. And we get to see the contrasting styles of kind of the big, European player. They got a few of those big post guys, European guys on Illinois, and Houston always has those scrappy guys that maybe came from a lower level. They 6'8", but they got to play center, and they got to come in here and match up versus these. So I like the matchup, but, I'm definitely leaning towards Houston, especially with the game being right at Toyota Center. So they definitely get a home court advantage in that one. Over in the Midwest bracket, number 1 seed Michigan has looked impressive through the first couple of rounds, blowing out the St. Louis team. But they were number 1 seed, and they obviously had an easy path here so far. The easy path stops here playing against this Alabama team, who is really good. I think now their 4th or 5th straight year heading to the Sweet 16, which is a record now at Alabama. They got Alabama's got star players. They got the LeBaron kid. He's played great, even though he had a bad game versus Texas Tech. They were still able to blow Texas Tech out. The Latrell Wrightsell stepped up and had a really good game. They've got multiple guys that can step up and that can shoot the ball well on this Alabama team. I think they're going to be a really good opponent for this Michigan team, but I would still give Michigan the edge. They've been one of the most consistent teams over the entire year, so I'll take Michigan in this one over Alabama.
If this point spread is right, it is Michigan -9.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too.
Yeah, I'm taking Alabama on the point spread, but I definitely going to take Michigan to win this game. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
It is
by virtue of matchup. I just think by virtue of matchup, but we'll see. So far in this tournament, and we have to admit this. I don't know if it's a function of the big SEC getting 10 teams in, so some of them had to make it to the Sweet 16, or that we're undervaluing their conference. So we'll see this time around.
Yeah.
We'll see at the Sweet 16 how many of those teams can survive. They have Arkansas, they have Alabama, they have Texas. They have a number of teams. They have just about one team in every game, just about.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they can. If I'm looking at it right, you got a Big Ten or SEC team in just about every game.
Yeah, just about every game, either Big Ten or SEC team in each one of those. Sprinkled in, Big 12 still got their guys in there. Still got Iowa State, Houston, Arizona still moving along as well. So really the top tier teams talent, which is the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC, and the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, and have all been showing up in this game. And as you spoke to earlier, not really any Cinderellas that we could see in this. There's no High Points making it this far. There's no Northern Iowas or teams like that making it this far. It's really those top tier teams and some of the blue bloods.
We'll get to see Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas, Alabama. That's a quarter of the Sweet 16s left, and we'll see. Like I said, I think it could. I think Alabama has a chance in this game, but I'm taking Michigan.
The last one in the Midwest side, Iowa State versus the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee, kind of one of those teams, like I said, maybe I undervalued moving through the season. Iowa State has been pretty consistent all year long, but with them losing one of their main guys last week in the tournament, is definitely going to hurt this team. He said he's going to try to come out and play, but not sure if he even plays, how effective he'll be out there. I still like Iowa State in this game. I still think they'll have enough to take out this Tennessee team moving forward. But Tennessee, like I said, they've proved me wrong so far through this tournament, so no shock whatsoever, especially with their pedigree. If a team like Tennessee is able to pull off an upset in this one, I'll still roll with Iowa State, though, in this game. Who you like with Iowa State and Tennessee?
I got Iowa State in this one for sure. Iowa State, I have them as a Final Four team. I'm going to continue to roll with them. I won't change anything till I see the condition of Jefferson. If he's able to get out there and play and be functional, I think they'll be good against Tennessee. But they're going to have their hands full no matter who wins that Alabama-Michigan game. Is that Alabama-Michigan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alabama-Michigan is who they'll get the winner of if they win versus Tennessee as well. Went through all the Sweet 16 matchup games. Going into these last couple of weeks now of the college basketball season, who do you think is the best player left in this tournament? Obviously, we spoke about guys like Darius Acuff at Arkansas, Cam Boozer still left in the tournament as well. You still got Flemings out there at U of H as well. Still a lot of good heavy star power left in the tournament. Who do you think the best player left in the tournament is right now?
The best player left is Darius Acuff, and then I'd put Boozer right behind him. And then I guess I would have to go with I guess you're right. Fleming is the guy you have to go with. That's who I'll go. I'll go with those three players. And it's funny that they're all freshmen.
Yeah, all freshmen too. Yeah, I got the same three. Darius Acuff, I think, is clearly the best player left in this tournament, as well as Cam Boozer has played all year. I think he's still a much better player than Cam Boozer, in my opinion. But Cam Boozer comes in at the strong second, what he's able to do. And in my third spot, I would either put Flemings there or Jeremy Fears at Michigan State. I think that's a toss-up of just what you like moving forward in the tournament. So those are those main names that everyone can't wait to see play. Obviously, Darius Acup versus Arizona coming in as the top seed in the tournament is going to be must-watch TV. Sweet 16 resumes on Thursday this week, folks. Can't wait to be able to see these games, break down some more of those, and give you guys some more picks if you haven't got right. Obviously, they got I forget what they call it, the second chance brackets now. You can go in and make your Sweet 16 bracket and try to get it right again from there if you've got some of these wrong like I got wrong in these first couple of rounds. But they'll start again, play on Thursday. I want to take a quick look over at the women's side of the bracket real quick. As we spoke about last week, it's pretty much gone as planned, man. The women's bracket is a little bit different than the men's. You see less upsets, even though Iowa did get upsetted this weekend. They came in as a number 2 seed and I believe lost to Illinois in their tournament out there. But for the most part, it's gone like what we thought it would go like. I guess it's not a surprise to see, I would say, is the dominant teams in the tournament like the UConns, the South Carolinas. It's crazy to see that they can play D1 programs that are good schools coming into this tournament and beat them by 40 or 50 points as if they're playing against a Division II school or a JUCO. I mean, UConn beat Syracuse, who's a good program, who took out Iowa State, who was a really good program. They beat them by almost 50 points. Like this, it gets to a point where you're like, man, this is ridiculous at some point. Then I watched South Carolina thinking, even without Juju, USC's got some good players. Still got Jazzy Davis, and maybe they'll put up a fight. South Carolina beats them by 40 and scores 100 points on them. I'm like, okay, this is just getting wild to see the level. It's a major difference between UConn, South Carolina, Texas, and then those other teams that try to fill in, even though they may have had a great record, even if they may only have 4 or 5 losses. The huge talent gap in the women's basketball side has been evident. What was your takeaway from the first couple of rounds of this women's tournament? We know that most of the teams we thought were going to be dominant were dominant.
Man, what was surprising to me is that how NIL in the women's game has separated college basketball more than ever. And so I gave I pondered on it for a moment, and I said, that kind of made sense. The schools where women's basketball is important, they invest in it from an NIL standpoint, which means that they're able to invest in more players. So they continued to stockpile talent based on tradition and reputation, and now they're able to not only put tradition and reputation, they're able to add some bread in there with it. So they're becoming more powerful. That just goes to show that not every program on the girls' side is taking basketball serious.
Yes.
Because whereas in the men's game, they won't let 2 big-time stars go to the same school because it's a bidding contest.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the women's game, Gino and Dawn, they can stockpile talent because they have programs that they could probably pay players better on the bench than some kids are getting paid. That are starters.
That are starters, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
And a lot of that, there's so many different factors that go into it. The WNBA now it might change with the new CBA, but before, obviously, no one's in a rush to go to the WNBA, especially with NIL being it. I can just come back, but to see the fact that people will be and it's normalized. Girls are okay that can get 20, 25, 30 because we're watching them do it off the bench for UConn. They had 2 girls getting 20 off the bench. Will willingly take the back seat as opposed to men's side of it. You score 20 once off the bench, you might not even come back. You headed to another program and go get paid.
There's another thing that I think is a reality too in the girls' game.
Mm-hmm.
Only about 5 teams get media coverage.
Yeah.
UConn, Texas,
LSU, South Carolina.
And I'll even say Kim Mulkey over LSU because when she was at Baylor, she was one of the programs that was always talked about.
Absolutely.
And so, let's just say coaches and programs. So, and you may want to throw a Duke in there or somebody like that, but for the most part,
UCLA,
the big time coaches and the big time players are generally go to the same programs. Like, you could literally create a Hall of Fame basketball team just from the girls that played at UConn, and it's looking like Dawn Staley is building the same kind of program where.
Yes.
Just from the players who graduate from her prayer, Asia Wilson,
Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah.
Large number of pros.
Yeah. So what we're having is a concentration of talent in just a few schools. I hope they come away with a way to deal with that. But I think at the end of the day, there are going to have to be more schools invest in women's basketball the way that it seems like LSU, Texas, South Carolina, and UConn have.
That's I think that's probably the biggest point to it is it's just not invested the same. UConn, obviously, South Carolina, those teams, that's one of their biggest revenue getters is women's basketball, so they're going to put the money there to support that. But these other schools, top tier, we're talking about Power 4 programs. Syracuse is a decent program. They just got beat by 50 on national television. Because it was a completely different gap. Their starters at Syracuse maybe wouldn't come off the bench at UConn. That's how big of a gap it is, and it shows in the scores. You look at Texas and Madison Booker scoring 40. They beat an Oregon team who just a couple of years ago, at least I remember them being in the Sweet 16 or in the Elite 8. They beat them by almost 50 points. The talent disparity is huge, and it's because of teams are not paying the same. The reason why we get a High Point in men's basketball is because High Point reportedly spent $3 to $4 million on their roster. At a small school like High Point is willing to give $3 to $4 million. You spend $3 to $4 million in women's basketball, you're top 5 program in women's basketball. That's the difference in what we're seeing, and it's showing up here in this tournament. UConn has been the dominant. They haven't lost. No one expects them to lose. I don't expect them to lose. This looks like the 2016 team, I think it was, with Breonna Stewart, where they didn't lose any games. This looks like whatever the year was when they had Tina Charles and Maya Moore and all those teams. This looks like one of those UConn teams. And Ozzie Fudd dropping 30 in 2.5 quarters is showing it that, this is another one of those dominant teams. I think Coach Gino's done it again. UCLA and Lauren Betts have looked good. LSU, them playing the Texas Tech team, and some people say this could be a competitive game, and them beating Texas Tech by almost 60 points is showing me that, okay, Kim Mulkey, Flage, they're serious this year. They're not, even though they're coming in as a number 2 seed, this game against Duke coming up, I think is going to be huge. If they come out and handle this Duke team, then I'll be closer to picking LSU and getting an upset versus UCLA and breaking into that Final Four and breaking the mold of a 1 seed, all 1 seeds going into the Final Four on the women's side. There's some fun matchups coming up on the women's side in the Sweet 16. Like one I just spoke about, the Duke-LSU game, I think is going to be really fun. South Carolina versus Oklahoma, I think will end up being a decent game. Oklahoma obviously having Aaliyah Chavez, who's one of the top freshmen, if not the top freshman coming into college basketball on the women's side this year. I think it'll be a fun game. And as long as Olivia Miles is playing at TCU, all of their games are going to be fun to watch at TCU because she's has a lot of star power. What are the games you're looking forward to seeing or players you're looking forward to seeing here in the Sweet 16, looking on the women's side of things?
I'm looking really forward to LSU and see how they finish this season. This season, I'm going to be honest with you, it looks a lot like, for them, it looks a lot like that 2023 or 2022 season. No, 2023 season when they won it all.
Yeah.
Meaning that they didn't have a great regular season. They had a really good regular season, but they didn't come in as the most dominant team. And actually, the most dominant team that year was South Carolina. That ended up getting upset by Iowa, and then they were able to beat Iowa in the championship. And I think reality is, we got UConn, Texas, South Carolina, are, in my opinion, are head and shoulders above everybody else. I don't see a world where UCLA beats LSU, but that could happen. The way the overseeded Iowa team lost to Virginia. I think they were overseeded. I think they just wanted them to host a
first
game.
couple of rounds.
Yeah. They ended up losing in overtime to Virginia. But every other first seed and second seed won both games comfortably. So, I'm looking forward to seeing South Carolina against Oklahoma. I think that'll be a good game.
That should be fun.
And Texas against what I think is a pretty talented Tennessee team, though I think they've taken care of Tennessee a couple times already this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they beat them. I think in both of their matchups when they played. They're playing at Kentucky. Kentucky. Yeah, I think they beat them in both of those matchups. One really fun one I forgot to mention: Notre Dame versus Vanderbilt. If you're a fan of scoring guards, even if you haven't watched much women's college basketball this year, Hannah Hidalgo and Michaela Blakes, two of the best scorers, most elite scorers in college basketball. To see them face off and match up against each other is going to be a really fun game whenever Notre Dame and Vanderbilt play. But I'm like you, UConn, Texas, and South Carolina are head and shoulders really above everybody else playing in women's college basketball right now. So it's just a race to see who's going to get to each other first. Which one of those matchups are we going to get to see first? And are we going to have to wait all the way to the Final Four for one of these teams to get tested? Because I think they're just that good moving forward. The women's bracket shaping up pretty nicely outside of Iowa losing. Most people have their picks right. And most of the time you can just take whoever the higher seed is. That's what it's showing right now on the women's side of the bracket. But some really fun matchups moving forward on the women's side of the tournament. Want to transition, talk about some local sports real quick. Last week I got a chance to talk about this topic on here. I was on here with Wayne, and I wanted to bring it back on here to talk about it with you. Coach David Randa got a chance to sit down with Matt Mosley and talk a little bit about the season coming up and the season that just progressed. And he said his biggest mistake, and this is something that's why I had to bring it back up to you because you've been saying it for a little while now. Biggest mistake was spending too much money on high school recruits who were standing on the sideline, and that's going to be his biggest overhaul this year and his biggest difference is. And this is something that I think you've been saying for at least a couple of years that I've been up here doing this show. It's so dangerous in this new NIL era to put your faith and your trust, especially if you're not Ohio State or Alabama and you're not going to get Jeremiah Smith. So you're getting a regular freshman that plays like how regular freshmen play, putting money and investment into this guy when that money and investment is tied to your job and tied to how long you're going to be here. You're putting it in the faith of an 18-year-old. And he said his biggest mistake in recruiting has been spending too much money on freshmen. What do you think about Coach Randa saying that?
I mean, he's late to the party.
Yes.
But again, so it's two things, right? Mm-hmm. If you're gonna compete in the trend, freshmen have posed a interesting dilemma since in the NIL era, right? You get freshmen, right? And then you come in and find out you may have an upperclassman better or he may have been over-recruited. Mm-hmm. What do? There's not a good exit strategy for a freshman. If he stays on your roster, what happens? He wants to continue to get paid.
Yep.
And so it's kind of it's an interesting dilemma. I always look at it like this. If I'm gonna, as a coach, if I'm gonna put my job on the line, I'm gonna put my job on the line with other men. I'm not gonna put them with boys, and I know that's antithetical to what people say the college experience is all about, so on and so forth, all of these idealistic notions that people have. But at the end of the day, Coach Randa has to keep his job. He needs men on the court, men on the field. And the way to get men on the field is through the transfer portal. Now, here's the interesting thing about the transfer portal. There are so many schools that have kids, that have film, that are productive at the mid-major level, that there's no reason for you to take a chance with a freshman with as many kids that have film at the college level.
I agree.
You telling me Baylor can't get 22 defenders, 22 offensive players from schools at lower levels, and I'm talking about the Sam Houstons, the Texas States. I'm talking the El Pasos. I'm talking the New Mexicos. I'm talking Louisiana Monroes. I'm talking the Louisiana Lafayettes. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you have to have a recruit, and you can just really cherry pick from those from the schools in your region, really, and field a pretty competent football team. Am I going to say you're going to win a championship? Not necessarily, but you're not going to get your head beat in like you've been doing. The other side of it is when you play that game here, and here's where I think Baylor kind of missed the mark. That's the money game.
Yeah.
You got to have bread every year. You can't go in. If you don't have money in the portal, you might as well not even go there.
You toast.
Right? So that's what I think. What I think Baylor was trying to do, they were slow to. They were Mike Gundy. They were all these other people who was going to insist that we're not going to play the money game. We're going to use culture and tradition to recruit players and players that want to be here at Baylor, this, that, and the other. That's not how pro football is. You got to have the money.
Got to.
It's about the money. It ain't about nothing else.
No.
You know, I talked to coaches 3 years ago on Coach's Corner, and these got to understand these are HBCU coaches. Everybody knows HBCUs are under resourced. And I asked those coaches, hey, what's the first thing they want to know about HBCUs when you at? And these coaches say that one thing they want to know is how much. At an HBCU.
Yeah, that's true.
They want to know how much. So come on, Coach Randall. You're my guy, and I think a lot of you. And I hope you're very successful. But if you thought that recruiting 18-year-olds was going to be successful playing against 21, 22, sometimes 23, 24-year-olds.
Just watched Indiana win with 24-year-olds.
Yeah, so it's going to – but, again, when you go in that portal, you got to have some bread. And and the money got to be readily available.
Yeah, it can't be the iffy money. It can't be –
No, it can't be funny money.
IOU. Can't be none of those. Because
that kid is – and guess what? The kid is Sam Houston. You don't have to have millions.
No.
You got to be willing to say, hey, I'll put 10 in your pocket now, and we're going to pay you $5 every month while you're here playing football.
Yeah.
Until he's All-American, you can get him for that.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
You know? We talked to the guys at Baylor, and they were confident that they had a good team. I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know if it was scheme, plan, whatever you want to call it. But whatever strategy they were using last year, it didn't work. I thought, again, my point, now, he turned out to have a pretty decent season. He wasn't near as – matter of fact, if they didn't have him, they probably would have had a much worse season. Sawyer Robinson. I thought bringing Sawyer Robinson back was not – I thought he was overvalued as a quarterback, right? But they brought him back. He had a decent season, and I'm going to say decent, but he wasn't the reason why they lost as many games as they lost. But he didn't win them any either.
No.
He didn't win them any either. There were some games that were on the table. I'll say Auburn was on the table. There were a number of games on the table, and he couldn't get them over the hump. It was a game.
True.
Those were games that a dynamic quarterback could have got you over the hump. But as you know, like I say, you know, Coach Prime is my guy. But one of his big mistakes, once Travis left, once Shador left, was we not worried about NIL. I want kids worried about NFL. Well, I'm going to tell you this here. A lot of those kids ain't going to the NFL, and you better have some NIL if you want some of the better players.
The mold has been shown already. If Indiana football can win the national championship, that means that every single team that puts on the shoulder pads is viable to win a national championship because nobody was in worse position than Indiana football. So for them to win, showing the mold, showing we're going to put 24-year-olds out here that aren't going to the NFL, but that are grown men out here on this field and are going to move your kids off of their spot and dominate and win football games.
Yeah, those guys were out on the field babysitting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so
moving kids around.
Yeah, they were babysitting. They were camp counselors out there playing against your baby. And so we know what the outcome is that going to be. Everybody's not going to be Texas. And then we have to also understand that Texas is going to go in the portal and get older guys where they have a deficiency. And when they see guys that aren't living up to whatever their expectations are, they don't have any problem with running them, chucking them to the deuce, and telling them to go somewhere else, get what you want. Again, I think that's something. To me, I think it's smart by Coach Aranda, him willing to pivot and being willing to openly be honest with it about it. I think also he has to look at. I hope because I don't think it was just Coach Aranda though. I think a lot of people putting it on Coach Aranda, and he's taking the bullet. But I talked to guys involved over there at Baylor 4 years ago, and they weren't concerned with NIL. They were concerned with getting Baylor guys, getting our guys. We're going to get our guys on the field, and they're going to play hard, and we're going to win games. Those guys who are just concerned about money, we don't want those guys. Well, again, you can say you don't want those guys. I don't know where they got this thought. The guys who were getting paid were going to not give as hard an effort, not play as hard, whatever. Like where you know,
I don't know where that narrative came from as well. It never made sense to see that. Of course, they're gonna come out here
like a guy who's playing for free is gonna be play hard.
The guy
hey, if that was the case, we go down to McDonald's and they be volunteering for giving you a burger. Ain't nobody standing out there frying burgers for no money. We don't want. Matter of fact, we don't even want a volunteer force cooking our food.
No.
Matter of fact,
no.
Yeah, we won't.
You don't get volunteers to cut your hair. You don't get volunteers to cut your grass. Now, of course, these guys are going to come out here and play hard. Well, maybe some of these guys, like I've said before, might not make it to the NFL. Sure. We're talking about college football.
They're going to make it to the bank, though.
Yeah, they make it to the bank. They're going to make it to the car dealership. They'll make it there. But, I definitely think that it's big of Coach Aranda to even admit that. Because most coaches – you spoke about some of them just a second ago, aren't going to admit that. They're not going to say, man, I needed to move and pivot and do this, and this, and I made a mistake and put the I on the front of it. He didn't even put the we that he could have put.
And when you're spending money, and this is something I think people have to accept on all levels of sports on the college level, it's not just spending your money, it's also spending your money smartly.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Spending money is just part of the business, and it's not going to – spending money doesn't hurt you. Like, that's the one thing I want people to understand about using money in the NIL. Yeah, you may spend $20, $30, $40, $50 million on a roster, and you guys don't win. But it ain't because the money. That's not. You're not winning. No. You're not winning because of the money. You're not winning because of the plan, because of the players you brought in, because of coaching. The money is not going to keep you from winning. Yeah. And that's what it makes people make it seem like, that if we invest, if we're bringing these players out, oh, they have the most expensive roster and they didn't win anything. That ain't why your ass ain't winning. They ain't got nothing. The money helps.
The money can't do anything but help. You have to get the right ingredients if you're gonna make a good meal. You can't go out there and go shop at Dollar General and at Dollar Tree and try to make a gourmet meal. Yeah. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So you gotta have the ingredient. You gotta have the players first. Now that you spent the money, maybe you realize, okay, maybe this guy just can't coach like I thought it was. Maybe I gave the money to the kid that wasn't that good. Then you can start to see those things.
And then you look at it from a standpoint like this. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the money, a lot of times you're not going to have that caliber player in that position. What do you think that coach would do with a much lesser player in that same position? It would be a much worse season. You know what I mean? Yep. And then too, only one team is going to win a championship. Yeah. Like I hate these kind of stats based on what they say. Mm-hmm. They say the 5 most expensive rosters in college basketball. They say Kentucky X is at 32. BYU exits at 64. Duke is Sweet 16. Arkansas Sweet 16. Louisville exits at 32. My point is saying is the reason why those teams exited ain't got nothing to do with nothing. They coaches ain't won shit either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the main part.
Put the coaches put the coaches' salary up there on those schools as well. I'll even tell you this: the teams that are left, Shire, we already know, top-notch coach. Arkansas, they already know, top-notch coach.
Yeah.
Louisville has a great program. I don't even know who the hell is coaching there.
Me either.
And Kentucky, another great program. Who the hell is coaching there? Again,
the guy.
at the end of the day, and then BYU spent the most money. I don't care. You can give me a Ferrari. I won't be able to win no drag race for you because I don't know how to drive like that.
Yep.
You understand? And what I'm saying, if you're going to invest $13 million in a player, you better make sure you have a guy that can coach that guy and get him up to speed. That's the reality about college basketball. Absolutely. It's always been about the coach. It's always it's put it like this. It's been about the coach and talent acquisition. We learned very early in the one and done era that even Coach Krzyzewski couldn't win without talent.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We learned he couldn't win without talent. When he started getting Maggettis and all those guys, once he realized, okay, I'm gonna have some guys that can really play.
Yeah,
some talent. Then he adjusted and started back his winning ways. But he had 2 or 3 years there where he really struggled trying to hold the line on one and done. But you got to be smart enough to pivot.
You have to, and that's exactly what he did. Even in the 2010s, when Duke was, everyone was criticizing Calipari about the one and dones because he kept doing it every single year. And Coach K, I don't want the one and done kids and yada yada. Next thing you know, they got Zion Williamson and Cam Reddish and all that. You got the number 1, 2, 3 player in the nation on your team that you know is gone after 6 months. So clearly, the pivot was made in their philosophy. But yeah, I think it's the same way. Like you said, those stats can be misleading. They'll say, "Oh, these guys had the biggest roster." BYU, no, I've never known any coach at BYU. First off, I can't name one coach that's coached for BYU. And they say they got the most expensive roster. 80% of that money going to one guy. The rest of those guys is getting regular NIL deals. So it's not like they just putting money everywhere. No, they gave one kid $10 million.
Everybody else giving gift cards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He taking all of that $13 million with him at BYU. But definitely, I think coaching has a big part to do with that as well. You spoke about one coach when we were talking about football, Coach Prime. I watch their content that they put out throughout the year. So obviously now it's spring ball time. You're going out there. If you're a Colorado fan or a Coach Prime fan, you're kind of looking at the roster, evaluating, seeing what you see. What are the differences, like you say? They had a bad season last year. That is what it is. They went and had a really bad season. Coach Prime, in my opinion, looks like he's made a slight pivot and said, okay, I'm going to recruit guys that we know can play, even if they are coming from a smaller school, mixing that with the top-level transfer talent that we've seen them get in other years, them getting the safety out of Tennessee and Blue Carter, bringing him in who's going to be probably a first or second-round pick in the draft at DB portal. Do you think Colorado has made some changes? Because, sometimes it's hard to see it when you're a fan. Because last year I watched all their stuff leading to the season and was like, okay, Colorado might put a squad out here. What are they going to look like with these guys? And then they go out and the product looks terrible on the field. Do you think they've made kind of that pivot to have another really competitive season this year?
Bro. They lost 70% of their offense with Shedeur and Travis, bro. Yeah. So they weren't going to be as good. They just weren't. Mm-hmm. And then they were depending on freshman guys pretty much to fill the. They brought in Juju Lewis, and they brought in forget the running back. I want to say Miller or Marion Miller or something. They brought in freshmen. You know what I mean, to kind of fill those voids. My point is, he has the blueprint. He used the blueprint the first year. What did he do the first year? He brought in a bunch of those guys who had played at Jackson State. Yeah. Right. So and when they were finally mature, once they were seniors, he had a season where they won 9-4. It's not none of those guys went to the league other than Travis and on the defensive end, that's the defensive side. None of those guys went to the league. They were just good college football players. He's going to have to do that on defense. He's going to have to somehow get mature, get just really good players, and then coach them up. That's what this game is all about. Unless you can go in, I don't think teams are going to be able to stockpile talent.
No. There's no 2010s Alabama is going to happen.
And I don't think Colorado is in the business of buying the most expensive players in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. So they just have to get good talent. I'm going to tell you, man, if I was a coach, mm-hmm. I would look at all conference, experienced players at the mid-majors and at the FCS level, use that as the base of my recruiting, probably 60-40, 75-25 early, and then I would try to wean myself to where it would eventually be a 60-40 split every year, where I'm bringing in 60 transfers, mm-hmm. But the bulk of my roster is, 40% of my roster is guys who have been here. That's what I want, and I would double up at every position. I would double recruit every position. Yeah. Double like we saw Tech do it. They double recruited every position. And so I think when you do that, right, you not only give your fans a chance to win, but you also you build a safety net into your program. Yeah. Because you got to remember, 2 deep is only 40 guys. Yeah. 22 on offense, 22 on defense. That's 2 deep. You still got a 40 to 60 man developmental roster that you can develop your own players, or whatever. But you can't be out there trying to play with developmental players. Mm-hmm. Trying to play the game with developmental players, unless he's playing next to Aaron Donald, Warren Sapp, somebody like that, you need guys who can produce out there. And I just think you can look in the college transfer portal and find guys who are highly productive at the lower levels that you can use every Saturday afternoon in the fall.
And I think that's what he's done this year. I think they had a really good mix of bringing in, like you said, that group of 5 talent. They hit on some guys in the Power 4 conferences. They got some SEC guys. They're bringing in some guys from schools that play good football. But a lot of these guys, like just dudes that have played a lot of football over the years, it just might not have been in the Power 4 conference before. They bring in the offensive coordinator from Sacramento State. He brings 4 or 5 of his guys with him. They go and get 3 or 4 guys from a JMU team that made the big playoffs. And even though they got beat down out there, they still dominated their competition. They go and get 3 or 4 guys from JMU. They bring in the Danny Scuderos, guys who are productive, highly productive at the small level. So I'm interested to see it. Obviously, it's springtime, and are we at this point just hoping for football at this point? So you watch these spring practices, you watch this stuff to see can they put a better product out there on the field. But overall, I like the additions they made, and from here it's can you coach up these guys that you brought onto your roster, like you said. So I'm excited to see what Coach Prime and these guys can do and what will end up being a wide-open Big 12. This is going to be – for the next 4 or 5 years that we're going to probably have a new winner.
Yeah, man, it's going to be wide open.
Yeah, for at least a few years here. We got a couple of minutes left here on the show. Want to hit a couple of quick takes here. First off, Fanatics had a flag football game. With flag football coming to the Olympics in 2028, and it's going to be here in America. Of course, if it's the first year, we want to put out a good product, and we're at home. We always want to try to win in everything we do, but we want to put a good product out. So there's stars that have said they're going to compete. They want to do this, and that. So Fanatics put on an event to play against the top flag football guys that we already have in the United States and go out there, and they play the game. I didn't even know it was on this weekend. I was literally just looking for one of the round of 32 games and then stumbled upon, they're actually playing the flag football game right now. And Tom Brady's out here, and Gronkowski's out here, and Odell Beckham's out here, and DeAndre Hopkins, and, they got some star power out there playing these guys. Obviously, the Team USA flag football team won all their games. They should do. They all play flag football, and these other guys play real football. And they're clearly 2 completely different things if you haven't seen the guys play flag football. What do you think? I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of it or see any of the highlights of these flag football games they put on, but what do you think about the NFL guys losing and then potentially putting these NFL guys out there in the 2028 Olympics?
Man, I think we'll win with the NFL guys, or we'll win with the flag football guys.
That's what I think.
I mean, again, I think this is just a situation where what are you trying to grow the sport into? Mm-hmm. if you only going to bring the NFL players in every 4 years, then in my opinion, you may as well let the flag football other guys play. Because are these guys going to play in the qualifying games? Are these guys going to play in the world tournament every year? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you end up, creating one sport for, the flag football circuit, so to speak, and then it becomes another sport when it's the Olympic year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's fair to the guys who play the game year in, year out. If there's a guy like Odell Beckham who wants to go out and make the team, make a flag football team, go right ahead, right? I don't have any problem with that. But let him go out and make it and be committed to it or whatever. And obviously, this is one thing I decided, just watching it and who was out there. Fanatics was paying that money on.
What? That's the only thing I could think of the whole time watching it. I said, Tom Brady is out here throwing the football. An NFL owner, a guy that's getting $100 million from Fox as well.
Throwing it to guys who done made $100 million.
Who done made $100 million.
You know what I mean? And they out there getting it.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, playing hard. Playing 10 times harder than what they play in the Pro Bowl.
Matter of fact, I feel put it like this. The NFL players could have won the game if they just put an NFL defense out there.
Yeah,
that's the problem that
exactly,
they didn't have NFL defenders out there.
Streamers and boxers. I think I seen Terrence Crawford out there. I said, okay, so this is clearly
it was
about
a celebrity.
The brand.
It was a celebrity flag football game. So my point is saying that is, it's nice that the NFL players out there, but I wouldn't want to play the game with NFL players. I would want them to be sprinkled in as part of a team based on their availability.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was fun. It was a cool event to see. Obviously, somebody I see somebody in the comments said the Mike Rubin files are going to be crazy when that comes out because he's always putting on these giant events that nobody even knows is going on, and then next thing you know, he's paying guys $40, $50, $60 million to come out to do these things.
But like I say, I think like Fanatics, they have this partner. You see, got to follow the money.
Yeah,
I think NFL owns like 50% of Fanatics. You know what I mean? So you didn't need a clearance. Let me Google that. What percentage of the NFL who owns Fanatics? I'm just gonna ask because I believe Fanatics is owned by part
owners with I know Mike Rubin is one of the owners, but I don't know who if he's the full sole owner of the Fanatics, and they put on these crazy events with star-studded rosters even when they do.
But they have huge licensing deals with the NFL and Major League Baseball. I don't know about basketball, but they had these huge licensing deals. So they got money on it, bro.
Oh yeah, they got plenty of it. I mean, if Tom Brady's out there throwing the football around, y'all know this dude gets paid $80 million from Fox just to talk once a week. He's an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Like he don't need to. You got to be throwing out some big money to see these guys come out. Gronkowski was out there running around pulling his hamstring. So overall, I think that was my main takeaway is those dudes are spending money. But I'm like you, if you want to actually win.
Okay, so in 2017, Fanatics closed a $1 billion round of fundraising led by SoftBank with participation from NFL, MLB, and Hockey League and MLS. So, and the NFLPA, Fanatics. So in other words, they got into a partnership with all the leagues.
Yeah.
And they're making bread, bro.
Plenty of bread.
And they paying bread.
So
this Fanatics deal is, I guess they're gonna get behind the sport and try to push the sport to the next level, using the names and faces of former NFL and current NFL players.
Yeah. It was mostly about the money. It wasn't about the flags or who was gonna send. People were like, "Oh, does that mean we're only gonna send these guys? Who are we gonna? If we're gonna send anybody, it won't be anybody we just watched playing in that flag football game. Half of those dudes don't even play football or aren't currently signed on a team right now. It's not like we had Myles Garrett out there chasing people around. So I mean, it wasn't our top tier guys. out there moving in the flag football. But I'll see how this progresses over the next 2 years before we get to the Olympics. And do they put on more events and try to get the current NFL? They try to get the Jamar Chases and the Justin Jeffersons to go out there and compete. We'll see how that goes. A couple more topics here. One, Travis Kelce signs a 3-year extension with the Kansas City Chiefs. Some people were speculating that he could be getting close to retirement like myself, but 3 years, $54 million deal that can go up to $57 million for Travis Kelce. Do you think this was the right move for the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, but at the end of the day, it was a great move for Travis. So, you know what I mean? Are they going to get $17 million worth of production out of him for the next 3 years? Absolutely not.
Not a chance.
But at the end of the day, they want their guy back on the team.
Yeah.
I think there is some value to having him back on the team. I think basically, how much guaranteed?
I did not see what the guarantee was. I just seen they had incentives that
I'd be
take
surprised
it up to $57 million.
if the guarantee was more than $25 million.
Yeah, I'd be shocked as well.
So I would say this is pretty much a 1 year, max 2 year deal, really.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sure there'll be language at the last one where they can decide to go ahead and cut him if he's not being productive out there at the moment. But he does get his bag, man. So shout out to Travis Kelce for securing that last bag. I thought he was finna retire, but I seen that $54 million. I said, yeah, he'll be
Ain't
back.
no chance.
He'll be right back out there with the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at a little basketball here. First off, Paul George finally speaks for the first time since his 25-game suspension. Says that mental health issues led to him taking PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. I think that he'll definitely be back out here and be able to compete with the 76ers team that we know is not that good. They're sitting at the 7th seed right now. But him saying the mental health is what led to it, I think is kind of crazy. Not saying that mental health is not real. It's very, very real. And Paul George has come out and been one of the advocates in the NBA for mental health. But just the only issue with using lines like mental health is you get to throw it in on stuff like this. He eventually said pretty much me tearing my knee up in the offseason and coming back into the season led to me having some mental health issues and why I made a mistake. Pretty much saying I took the PEDs because I was messed up about my knee and will I be able to come back and be the same. But you saying that's mental health isn't that why everybody takes PEDs? Isn't it because they are probably upset about their situation, that their body can't perform the same way, so they take the PEDs so their bodies can't perform the same way? You should have just took the 25-game suspension and been quiet, bro. Paul George is a strange guy. Obviously, he's a guy that's been injury-riddled for the last few years.
He's made other questionable decisions.
Yeah, he's made some very questionable decisions just across the board. The whole podcast thing, and then he stops the podcast when they go into the playoffs because I need to focus on hoops, and then they go there and lose like 30 games. Talking about. No, I know he's got some other ones. That's just the ones I'm bringing up. But he's got some other questionable decisions as well. What do you think about him blaming him taking performance-enhancing drugs on his mental health?
Man, I just think as a black man, mental health is important.
Yeah.
I think it's something that we all need to pay attention to. I think in times like this, it sounds like you're using mental health as a scapegoat to justify your bad behavior and poor choices. And in some ways it does a discredit to those men who do suffer from mental health. Mental health, I don't think it's anything that should be played with or toyed with or used as an excuse for bad behavior. So I hope that he's sincere in his admission that he's dealing with some mental health issues. But I just think the timing of it makes it kind of suspect. You know what I mean? And he's almost, attempting to gain some type of sympathy or maybe even get some, almost playing the victim to a certain extent.
Yeah.
By mentioning it after this situation. Matter of fact, because, he could, because you can take responsibility for taking the PEDs without addressing your mental health concern, and then double back and say, you know, that I've struggled with mental health without associating it with your PEDs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. 100% I'm agreeing. I'm not saying that Paul George doesn't struggle with some mental health things, but the first time we ever heard him speak out about the mental health, I don't want to put the air quotes. First time we heard him speak out about his mental health is when they blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble to the Nuggets. And then he said, my mental health was off in the bubble. And it's like, okay, is that why y'all lost the 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets and ended up not going to the Western Conference Finals, or did y'all just lose? Then you come back out, you take PEDs because you continue to mess your knee up, and obviously you want to get back to a certain point because you're 35 years old and you're saying, I don't have much time left. I want to get back to what I was before so I can go out here and try to win a championship. It messes up, and now my mental health made me take it for my. I thought your knee is why you took the PEDs. I don't think that the steroids did anything to help your brain. I think it helps your knee. So you can't double back and say that that's the reason why I took it. You took it because your knee messed up. I think you should just honestly stop bringing it up, or stop bringing it up like this. We haven't seen Paul George go on a tear where he's averaging 30, and then says, man, my mental health is really bothering me right now. I need to take a step back. It seems to just be a reoccurring theme that when something bad happens, you bring it up, and that's not fair to anybody that's dealing with any type of mental health issues whatsoever. So, hey, come back. He says, I'm just back and glad to be healthy here, and then for the last stretch, I'm going to try to make a playoff push. Well, for one, we know you're healthy because you got suspended for stuff that makes you healthy. Two, you've been gone for 2 months, so I think you will be healthy. I think the Sixers are afterthought in the Eastern Conference playoff race, so I don't see much of Paul George coming back. Right here before we get off, 2 winning streaks. One, the Lakers' winning streak ends at 9 games last night as they lose to the Detroit Pistons. Oklahoma City extends their winning streak to 12 games in a row. Both these teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, Oklahoma City coming off of a championship and right now poised to be the championship favorite as of right now. How do you view these two teams? Obviously, Oklahoma City coming off their championship. The Lakers, some people say, they don't have a chance. They don't play defense. They don't do this, this, and that. But when you got a guy performing like Luka Doncic is performing right now, which is historical if you guys haven't been paying attention. I mean, he literally dropped 60 a couple nights ago, and nobody even talked about it like nothing happened. He's playing at an all-time level. How do you view both of these teams in the Western Conference right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder and then the Los Angeles Lakers?
I think they're both really playing well. I think Oklahoma is just really trying to get through the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. They're looking to turn it on during the playoffs and really, kick it in down the stretch. It looks like they'll be the healthiest they've been all season once the playoffs start. You know what I mean? And so I look for them to be at full strength, attempting to defend their championship. They're going to be a handful to whoever they play. But what I've looked at this season is that they're not unbeatable. Like, they are beatable. They have some chinks in their armor. But it's going to take a Herculean effort by whatever team takes them down if they do go down. They're not, because they have matchups. They have what I consider a really good coach, and they have a multitude of players for just about every basketball situation you can be in.
Yeah, I agree. Oklahoma City is definitely the most battle-tested. They're probably the deepest team. But, as you said, they have holes in this team. They have ways that they can be beat, just like they were last year. They were the champs, and they won it all right, fair and square. But you go in the Western Conference semifinals, Aaron Gordon drops 40-something on him, and then he tears his knee up and can't play anymore, and they win 7 games. Tyrese Halliburton gives them the business to hold a finals run on a Pacers team that I don't even really think that was that good, and he tears his Achilles in Game 7. Oklahoma City ends up winning. So they've shown that they can be beat even last year. I think this year it'll be about who's the healthiest. If they go against a Nikola Jokic type of team again when they're healthy, I don't know if they have the same outcome they had last year. If you can say what you want about the Lakers and not playing defense, But you got a chance to beat anybody if you got a guy that can generate 60 points on your team by himself. A guy that can score 40 and easily get 10 to 15 assists in a game every game. Couple that with LeBron with this smaller role that he's been playing. I think the Lakers are dangerous, man. I like what I've seen from both of these teams. Obviously, the Lakers lose on a buzzer beater, a potential game-winner shot last night against the Detroit Pistons. I think the Thunder are poised to be able to make another run as well. A couple of games on tonight, not much action. Everybody's taking kind of a rest as we get ready for this last push in the tournaments. They got a couple games on. First game coming on NBC tonight, Orlando and Cleveland. I like Cleveland in this game. The minus 10.5 is kind of crazy. I'm not taking them that much on a point spread, but if you put this together with some other picks, I think it'll be decent if you take them on the money line. I like Cleveland in that game tonight. And then Denver playing against Phoenix tonight on TV will be the 2-night game. This will actually be a pretty competitive game. Phoenix is one of those sneaky good teams. I'll still take Denver in this one, and I might take them on the points here at 6.5. What do you think about the couple NBA games coming on tonight? Orlando and Cleveland, and then Phoenix and Denver for the nightcap.
To me, those are both snoozers.
They both are, absolutely.
They both are snoozers. Those midweek NBA games, man, they not even.
The ones that keep getting on NBC, I don't know how they keep consistently putting out horrible games. Like some of these games, like the other day, the Pelicans were on TV. Why would you ever put the Pelicans on TV? Like, what are you thinking about? Why are those guys even on television? Yeah, I agree. They're both two snoozers on the games.
Yeah. And then too, when you talk about betting, man, betting on midweek NBA games is like tossing your money. Like we might well bet on flipping the coin. You know what I mean? You might well bet on flipping the coin. It could go either way, man. And so, last night I thought the Lakers would take care of
Detroit.
Arcade. And turns out that didn't happen, man.
A random guy comes in and scores 30 that I've never heard of before. So I was like, what's even going on out there as well? But yeah, I agree. Definitely two snoozers in the games tonight. NBC, come on, man. Give us some better game.
Everybody should get to bed early tonight.
Yeah. Nothing to stay up. No one's going to be staying up watching Jokic versus whoever the backup center is for the Phoenix Suns. I don't think anybody's going to be staying up.
There is no Coach's Corner tonight for those of y'all who...
No HBCU Coach's Corner
tonight. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, so now you got to go and watch it. Well, if y'all like me, you'll be trying to find random obscure information about some NFL teams or college football as well, trying to search for any football information that we got. But we're out of time here today, folks. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here on Centex Primetime. MCC softball, I believe, tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in right here on Centex Sports Network as the baseball team was in action yesterday. They'll be back in action on Centex Sports Network this weekend as well. So lots of sports to look forward to. Like, share, subscribe as always. Want to thank Rocky for jumping on here with us. We'll see you guys on Thursday. We have games tomorrow. We'll be back here on Thursday on the show. See you guys next time. Everybody have a great evening.
Yeah.